Hey.
Because you didn't buy it, you broke. You bought the turtle.
We didn't buy the turtle.
So you might have money. Ask me.
We got.
The NFL community didn't expect much more than laughs when several young stars linked up for a live off-season appearance. Instead, the segment quickly turned into one of the most replayed and debated moments of the summer. The center of it all was Shedeur Sanders, a quarterback who has rarely been far from spotlight. Whether it's his performance on the field or the weight that comes with his last name, attention seems to follow him everywhere. But this time, the conversation had nothing to do with his mechanics or his pedigree. It was sparked by a remark from New York Giants running back Skattebo. The live show featured some of the league's most recognizable young names, including Micah Parsons and Shedeur Sanders, alongside the Sanders brothers. The energy was relaxed at first. Light jokes, casual back and forth, the kind of playful exchange fans have come to expect from off-season appearances. Then the tone shifted. During the discussion, Skattebo referred to Shedeur as broke. The room immediately felt different. The comment followed a mention of Shedeur being on a fifth-round rookie deal, clearly pointing to where he was selected in the draft compared to others. It was framed as humor, but the reaction suggested it didn't land the way it was intended. When you consider who the remark was directed at, the statement becomes even more surprising. Shedeur's financial position and off-field ventures have been widely documented, reducing that the draft placement overlooked a much bigger picture. What stood out most, though, was Shedeur's reaction that he didn't respond with an insult. He didn't escalate the exchange. Instead, he paused, looked directly at Skattebo, and smiled. It wasn't a laugh-it-off grin. It was the kind of expression that communicates confidence without the need for words. In that moment, he chose control over confrontation. That composure wasn't accidental. Growing up in constant public view teaches a different kind of discipline. Shedeur understood that trading verbal shots on a live platform would only distract from the bigger narrative. Remaining calm said far more than arguing ever could. Meanwhile, Skattebo's attempt at humor seemed aimed at asserting himself among a group filled with high-profile names. But labeling Shedeur Sanders as financially struggling doesn't align with reality. It's a claim that falls apart under even minimal scrutiny. Start with merchandise alone. This season, Shedeur ranks as the top jersey seller across the entire NFL, not just among rookies across the league. That means his name is moving more merchandise than established veterans, Pro Bowl selections, and even championship winners. Revenue from those sales represents a significant stream of income. In fact, the earnings generated through merchandise alone likely rival or surpass what many players make strictly from their rookie contracts. Former NFL MVP Cam Newton has even publicly acknowledged the scale of Shedeur's commercial success. Because at this point, Shedeur isn't only an athlete competing on Sundays. He operates as a brand, and brands generate revenue far beyond the boundaries of a standard contract. What was intended as a quick joke ended up highlighting a larger truth about modern football. Draft position may determine a rookie salary slot, but it doesn't define influence, visibility, or earning power. And in that department, Shedeur Sanders has already positioned himself at the top.
This is the first time in history that a fifth-round pick has led jersey sales.
Yeah.
Nobody is watching third, fourth round as much as we would watch.
Shedeur Sanders has sold the most amount of jerseys out of any rookie this year.
And the story doesn't stop there, whether that makes the situation tougher for Skattebo or not. Not long ago, Gatorade presented Shedeur Sanders with an endorsement proposal that would make most athletes sign immediately. $60 million spread across 3 years. For the majority of players, that kind of guaranteed payout is automatic. You accept the terms, secure the money, and move on. But Shedeur didn't follow that route. Rather than taking the traditional cash-heavy structure, he negotiated for equity, 3% ownership in Gatorade USA. On the surface, 3% may not sound overwhelming. Yet when that percentage is tied to a company generating billions in annual revenue, it represents something far greater than a short-term paycheck. Gatorade stands as one of the most dominant beverage brands in the world. Holding even a fraction of ownership in an operation of that scale creates long-term earning power that extends well beyond a standard endorsement contract. This move wasn't centered on immediate income. It was a long-view decision aimed at sustained wealth and financial longevity for generations. If his current financial momentum continues, projections suggest Shedeur could become the youngest active NFL player to reach billionaire status during his playing career. Not simply accumulating millions, but crossing into the billions while still on the field. That context makes the earlier broke remark even more striking, and the Gatorade agreement is only one component of his portfolio. Before he ever stepped onto an NFL field for a regular season snap, Shedeur had already finalized a groundbreaking endorsement deal valued at $125 million. At the time, the figure drew widespread attention across the sports industry. Securing that level of compensation without professional experience was unprecedented. Some questioned whether such a contract was justified prior to proving himself in the league. Doubts surfaced. Critics voiced their opinions. But while outside voices debated, the partnerships were already in place. Shedeur understood the value attached to his name and influence. More importantly, major brands recognized it as well.
Equity clause in his deal with Gatorade. That clause basically said, I'm not just here as a name or a body. I want part of what's being built off of me. I want ownership in the outcome. So that clause essentially just preserved his interest. He walked away with his corrected status in the contract, and he claimed his.
The momentum didn't slow down. It accelerated as soon as Shedeur took the field for his first preseason appearance. A performance clause in his Nike agreement was triggered. The activation of that provision instantly doubled the overall value of his contract. What had already been substantial climbed to an astonishing $250 million over the next 4 years. And the structure of that deal went far beyond a standard payout. Included in the agreement was a 50% share of revenue from his jersey sales. In simple terms, every time a fan purchases a Shedeur Sanders jersey, half of the profit goes directly to him. That kind of arrangement is virtually unheard of for a rookie and creates a revenue channel that most players never come close to accessing. While many first-year athletes were adjusting to their initial endorsement checks and learning how to handle sudden income, Shedeur was operating on an entirely different tier. His financial footprint didn't just make him the highest-paid rookie the NFL has ever seen. It positioned him among the most commercially powerful young figures across all sports. What added another layer to the story was how quickly he surpassed other highly touted prospects like Cam Ward and Travis Hunter in overall earning power and brand reach. Despite not hearing his name called in the first round as many projected, he demonstrated that draft order does not dictate long-term success. Strategic decision-making, market timing, and recognizing one's leverage matter far more. Viewed through that lens, Cam Skattebo's on-air remark wasn't merely an awkward joke. It reflected a misunderstanding of how modern sports economics truly function. There's a significant gap between collecting a paycheck and building lasting wealth. And that distinction was on full display. It also sparked a strong reaction from Shedeur supporters. His fan base has consistently shown unwavering loyalty, matching his competitive edge with their own enthusiasm online and beyond. While Shedeur chose restraint in that moment, declining to escalate the exchange, many of his supporters were less inclined to let the comment slide. The criticism directed at Skattebo has already begun circulating and continues to gain traction. In reality, a deeper look at the numbers might have changed the tone of that interaction. Attempting to mock someone operating at that financial scale rarely lands well. Describing a player with diversified equity stakes, record-setting endorsements, and historic merchandise splits as broke doesn't project confidence. It highlights a lack of awareness. Ultimately, Shedeur reinforced why he is regarded as one of the most calculated young figures in professional athletics. He didn't respond with hostility. He didn't justify his earnings. He didn't need to. A brief smile was enough. The figures behind his contracts, ownership stakes, and merchandise revenue tell the rest of the story. While others may try to generate attention with quick remarks, Shedeur Sanders continues expanding his influence and financial footprint across the league.